Thanks, everybody. My name's Nancy Silver, and I'm a solutions architect with MarkLogic, and this is my colleague, Michael Malgeri, who's a principal technologist and lead engineer for MarkLogic. Today, Michael and I are going to talk to you all about the impact of smart content. MarkLogic is a database platform company. We essentially help organizations manage and distribute their content. We've been doing this for close to 15 years. We specialize in all verticals, but the area of our expertise is in publishing, media, and entertainment. I don't know, has anybody here attended the Smart Content Summit last month? Awesome event, really great event, and it was really exciting for me to be there to kind of hear all of the great stories about what folks are doing with metadata, and it really became apparent how important and how valuable metadata is throughout the production lifecycle and for the media and entertainment industry. And as metadata is moving to the front and everybody is realizing how important it is for content personalization and content monetization, there still are several barriers that organizations are facing when integrating their data. But new technologies are coming to place, and successful applications like the SNL 40th Anniversary app have embraced smart content. And we're going to discuss this a little bit more in our presentation. So smart content is throughout the whole production life cycle. And Michael and I are going to discuss how using and embracing NoSQL technologies to integrate your data will help your organization, as well as implementing semantics for linking data, increasing data governance, and data curation.
Just that green button there?
Yeah.
Okay, am I on?
Yes.
Doesn't sound like.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I am,
Good.
okay. So, whether it's concept to camera to consumer in media and entertainment, or art to part to mart in manufacturing, data is created in every stage of the product cycle. And when you want to deliver great content, as you do in media and entertainment, you have to have access to all this data. And that data lives in specific categories. There's the content itself, there's various forms of metadata, descriptive, technical, and then there are semantic technologies like taxonomies and ontologies. And every stage of the supply chain needs access to these various categories. So for instance, in distribution, you need access to the production data like wardrobes and props if you want to take advantage of new market opportunities. Archiving is not just about maintaining the assets. You might want production data about backgrounds and clips for reuse. And then in various stages of production, you need access to the title information and the other metadata in order to ensure that it's not replicated or duplicated. Also, we're seeing a very big trend of using customer or consumer data throughout the life cycle. So it's very important when you're designing new products and distributing them to end users. All this information resides throughout the product life cycle, and every process within each of these stages needs access to that data. So how have organizations tried to provide that universal access? Well, traditionally, it's been with relational technology. This was actually a video where the piston was going up and down, but we didn't get it to work here. Maybe some other time. But relational technology has its limitations. You have to design your model up front. You need to know what your model is going to look like, and you often need to know the queries, the questions that you're going to ask of that data. This is good if it's single purpose, but it has limitations when you have multiple things that you want to do, like many of the initiatives that are going on, Customer 360, Product 360, Supplier 360. And then when you want to change the data, it's very difficult. It typically has a ripple effect up and down the technology stack. And this new data is required for making decisions to find new opportunities. Folks here that might be in the technology area that have tried to do this know that it's very, very complex. So we're back to this slide here because one of the major problems is that there are many systems in each stage of this cycle. So for instance, in production, you have not only different software systems, but you have smart cameras, you have drones, you have IoT devices, you have wearable devices. And each of those types of data belongs in these different categories, and they have different technical formats and different purposes in which they interact. So getting access to that information is more than just bringing it together in a single place. You have to form relationships among the data, and the prior speaker, Aaron, alluded to that. It's a variety of data that you have to worry about, but try to make sense of it. So it's just not smart to think that if you're going to consolidate this information, you've solved your problem. You really haven't. Now, what people are doing is looking for new platforms. They're looking for a platform where data is easy to bring in, where it's easy to bring in the data. They want to ingest data without having to do these expensive transformations, the ETL. Want to be able to handle structured, unstructured, semi-structured kind of data. Bring metadata and data together. They also want to be able to get the data out as quickly as possible. So index it if you can, rapidly in real time, and then provide access through ad hoc queries. And then being able to handle these different types of data, JSON, XML, unstructured text, binary, and the surrounding metadata. The other important aspect of a platform that gives you this type of capability is that you don't want to give up the enterprise features that are found in traditional relational technology. So things like ACID transactions. When you're updating multiple documents, you want to maintain that data consistency. High availability, disaster recovery. Security is very, very important. And I know everyone is probably dealing with that, particularly privacy concerns with the content and the user information. So one of the technologies that folks are looking at, you've probably heard of it, is NoSQL. This is different than relational database. It allows you to move away from designing your entire data model up front, bring data in as is, search, discover, and then do something called schema on read, whereas you create the data model for the different purpose or application in which you want to use it. It also makes it very, very easy to handle new data. As we mentioned with relational technology, you have to do a lot of rebuilds and re-indexing. With NoSQL technology, it comes in a lot smoother, and there's less of an impedance match between the data and the object relational layer and the application layer. Some of you developers probably know. This is an example of a document model in NoSQL, so it's hierarchical in nature. But when you want to get even more value out of your data, you'll combine this with a semantic model. So over on the right, you see kind of a graph structure which relates characters to movies, to actors. This gives you the context that you need to combine that information that's characteristics of big data, the variety. Okay? And it makes it much more powerful when you want to enrich your application or to create more enhanced user experiences. Now, the big win, and this is a MarkLogic thing, is when you're able to combine document stores, which you see on the left here, and semantic models, which you see on the right. If a user can search the document and the text and then leverage the inferencing power of the semantic engine, then they can get relevant content that they didn't even ask for, because the user knows the engine knows the content that they're looking for, and they know something about the user. So this is the value, and we see examples in Homeland Security where analysts are searching suspicious activity reports. They find the name in the document itself, but then through the semantic relationships, they can find accomplices associated with other events or locations and catch the bad guys. Inigo Montoya can catch a six-fingered man, if you guys are familiar with that reference. I can't do anything without reference to Princess Bride these days. My favorite movie. But in other areas like financial services, that's very document-based in the operations, lots of contracts, so they need to search through that for compliance, fraud detection in insurance. And in media and entertainment, it's all about matching the content through the tagging that we talked about with something known about the user. And this is a good example. Nancy mentioned SNL. You guys familiar with the 40th anniversary that they had last year at this time? Must be some Saturday Night Live fans. They created this mobile app. They wanted to have a very enriched user experience, and they pulled through all these different categories of information. There were roughly 6,000 skits over the 40-plus years. We're in the 41st year. And they were able to deliver an application, tap into this content. One of the key things that they did was a recommendation engine. So they asked users a couple of questions on download, pinpointed the era that they were interested in, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then started delivering up content. And as users swiped through the videos forward and back, recommended to Facebook, shared with friends, looked for information, the recommendation engine was constantly tuned. So this was very, very successful. They felt they had phenomenal engagement, and this is Michael Martin speaking at last year's Hollywood IT Summit. I think that's his quote where he said they made a meal out of snacks. This is, getting to the end here, this is another industry, automotive industry, Mitchell 1. They're a division of Snap-on. They fix cars. They have an application called ProDemand, and they take information from various systems. So this is directly from the customer, from the diagnostic engine, from the parts catalog, from the repair shop, and from the billing. They combine this all together to reduce the cost in fixing your vehicle's quality, and take these silos of information into this semantic confederation. They use semantics heavily to, now this is an application that, I don't know if you can see that, but these are not product codes, they are diagnostic codes. So you go in and they stick your car into a computer, you tell them the symptoms, and these codes are related to the various systems from the information that came from text that was typed in by the repair person, the person that took the service call, and they're able to deliver an optimum service experience. When I say optimum, not only reduces the cost, but it does things like preventative maintenance, so to avoid the costly recalls, which are death in the manufacturing industry. And again, they rely on all these different systems. So I'm going to pass it back to Nancy. She's going to talk about something very exciting that's happening in the industry today related to our partners here, ETC.
Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
We're really excited to be working with the ETC on the Suitcase. For those of you who don't know what the Suitcase is, it is a short film and technical test that is evaluating network-based workflows and focusing on metadata and high dynamic range. So the core goals of the project are next generation cloud-based workflow, C4 framework, metadata, and high dynamic range. For the parts of the project that focus on metadata that MarkLogic is working on, we're targeting descriptive upstream metadata. So we're extracting metadata, Great Meta is doing the extraction of the metadata, and we're ingesting it into MarkLogic and automating that descriptive metadata process upstream so that it doesn't have to be recreated downstream. And typically, this is what happens with most motion pictures. This will not only be a cost savings, but it'll also help with metadata loss. And we're doing this through the use of NoSQL technologies and semantics, implementing relationships amongst the descriptive metadata and using technologies and ontologies as well to do this. So some key deliverables of this project. We're creating a white paper that's going to talk about all the technologies that are used and lessons learned. But we're also, MarkLogic is working with Disney to create a front-end application for viewing the Suitcase. And it's going to essentially operate similar to like Amazon X-Ray. You can view the Suitcase movie, and what's really cool is that descriptive metadata that's been automated already will be viewed. You can see that through the use of semantics, the relationships. So you can view over a character and find information about that character. And again, it's that linking metadata that's able to create this great user experience. So as you can tell, we've talked about a lot of really great projects that people are using smart content for. And one of the things that's clear is that people are now focusing on the importance of metadata throughout the entire production cycle and being able to link that for successful content personalization and user experiences, which then in turn provides for content monetization. So if you want to learn more about what other organizations are doing, not only in media and entertainment, MarkLogic World is in May, and it's a completely free event. And companies like Disney, NBC Universal, Warner Brothers, and other verticals will be talking about some of the projects that they're doing with smart content and some of their success stories. Thanks so much.